And welcome back to the JKR Podcast. Today I've got Cincinnati Reds prospect, Fort Wayne native Hayden Jones on the podcast. Hayden, I'm glad to have you on the show. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. I remember watching. I think you're a few years older than me, so I remember seeing your name in the newspapers. I'm from the Fort Wayne area, so I remember seeing your name in newspapers. Remember when you went to Mississippi State, but always been a big baseball guy, so I followed you pretty well. But one question I like to start off the podcast with for everybody is for the people who don't know you, how would you describe yourself?
Um, Biggest thing is the leadership side. Kind of, I take control over that side more so now and before. Just as being a catcher, you have to do that. But besides that, it's more so of I'll be your friend and everything if you give that back to me. I'm more of a relationship type guy. So you don't want to go on that road. I can go opposite if that makes any sense. But no, I'm one of those we're a big build that relationship with others and that's how you have to be in sports, especially with baseball as a catcher with pitchers. But just getting to know guys and get your work done outside of the game itself. And like they say, best works when nobody's watching, and it's honestly a true thing. So yeah, that's kind of how. Hardworking. That's one thing is. I'm in the cage. I'm a cage rat. It's kind of weird to say, but it's one thing. That's all I do is I'm always at the cage, doing stuff, doing practices, working with guys, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I want to move it back a few years. I want to dig into your recruiting process. I kind of like learning about how the recruiting process went for everybody. So how was that recruiting process for you, and kind of when did D1 teams start reaching out to you?
It was kind of crazy. My first offer was from Purdue, and that was 8th grade year going into freshman year. And I was the youngest kid that Doug Schreiber had ever offered. And now my dad's coaching with him at Purdue Fort Wayne. But yeah, so that was kind of when everything just started piling in. I think by about sophomore year, I had about 10 offers. And then by the time I committed, I had 18.
Yeah.
But no, it was definitely a crazy time and lots that you learned about yourself and about others and other schools, and kind of you started to notice stuff that was like you heard what you wanted to hear and you could really pull that out, and there's a bunch of stuff that kids don't realize that. But having a dad that played college baseball, coached college baseball at the D1 level, and played professionally, it's easy to pull that stuff out. So that was one thing that was nice to have that other kids don't see, or other families just don't realize. And I feel bad because there's a buddy of mine that they fell for that, and it's biting them in the butt a little bit now. But yeah, it was a crazy time, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah. So before Purdue offered you, like how long was it were you starting to get noticed by teams, and how many conversations did you have with Purdue before they actually offered you?
So it all fell out. I was 14 playing an 18-year-old tournament for a high school coach in town. He just needed their catcher was out, so he just asked if I had the weekend open and everything. And it was the end of the summer. And I said, sure, like whatever. But his son played at Purdue, and so contacted Doug and said, hey, I got a guy. I didn't tell him the name because our families were family friends. My grandpa and his dad started the IHSBCA together. So we go way back. And so he came out, and I think I backpicked a kid on second twice, threw a kid out, and hit 2 off the wall as a 14-year-old would. And so that just started the ball, and he afterwards he asked who it was, and crap, I know that kid. And so he had me down for a visit, and I believe it was he had me down, we visited and everything, and then the second visit he had me come down was when I got the offer. So it was like within 2 weeks I got it. But yeah, it was kind of, other than that, it was, they were the first school, and then once they got in the mix and people started hearing my name, that's when the ball started rolling.
Yeah. So when you went on that visit to Purdue, kind of what can you take us through the process of what went on that day and kind of what goes on behind the scenes on those visits?
Yeah, I mean, there's visits that are a lot different than others. I had some really bad ones, and I had some amazing ones. Um, but really, I mean, Doug goes about it the right way, and that's where, I mean, lots of kids want to see all the glitz and glamour and everything, but in reality, when you get to school, you don't get all the glitz and glamour that they show you. I mean, Mississippi State, they show you all the glitz and glamour when you get there, and or in the like you're gonna get all these shoes and everything. You don't get that stuff. But I mean, he went about it in the right way, and he still goes about it in the same way. Just goes around the baseball stuff, and hey, this is what you have, and lays it out there. He's straight to the point, tells you how it is, and just shows you around and makes it feel comfortable. He's relaxed. He doesn't push to force you into anything. And I mean, so after that, it's kind of more so, some people do it differently, but I want to see the academic side. So he made it to whatever the major I wanted, which was turf management. And we met with some people and kind of just hit on every single area. And I probably visited Purdue 25, 30 times just to really just get to know him and his staff, and sit down with the players, pick their brains. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're signing away your life to these guys for at least 4 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what we did on every single visit. And like I said, you learned a lot about different coaches and their character as a team was. So.
Yeah. So you said you had a couple bad visits. You don't have to name drop, but kind of what made those bad visits actually bad visits?
Very big, very, very well-known baseball school. But I mean, you're sitting in the office for 5 hours straight, back-to-back visits, and pressuring into committing on the spot. And same thing with my grandpa passed away, and like the next week was Thanksgiving, and on Thanksgiving it was being pressured into doing it. It's like you just don't do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a big school or not. Like, you just got to find where you're comfortable and everything, and you can't fall for the pressuring stuff. And that's where the biggest thing, you're seeing kids nowadays commit right off the spot to the biggest school. And it's like, you got plenty of time. You can wait. I waited till junior year. You can wait junior. You can wait to right before senior year. You've got plenty of time. But there's a lot of kids falling for the pressuring stuff because the schools can get away with it.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because I've learned that these past few interviews that I've been doing. I had one guy, he's in the, his episode I think is going to drop February 18th. His name's Josh Mitchell, but he's in the Twins organization now. And he was saying how UNC was like, hey, we're going to offer you, but you got to commit like next week. And he said, he's like, that just wasn't for him. But there are so I'm as I'm looking over like the PBR, like top 10s for like just the state of Indiana. I mean, there's some guys in the class of 24, 25 who are already committed, which for a while, I thought that was just like, oh, that's crazy. I didn't realize before I started like meeting with some of these players that was kind of normal to be offered and like committed at such a young age.
Yeah, I had buddies that did that and everything. And I mean, I wanted to commit to Kentucky to Gary Henderson, which is the reason why I committed to Mississippi State, was because of Gary Henderson. But I wanted to commit to him at Kentucky my sophomore year. I was on a visit. They had a game, and I told my parents, I'm like, I want to go here. And my dad told me, no, you're waiting. No, you're waiting, because he knew that coaches were changing, and that stuff happens at the end of I forget what certain time it was. That normally coaches either get out, get released, stuff like that. And I mean, it happened. So it worked out for me. But it's one of those that kids are jumping at the bullet, and you're driving the ship. I set my commitment date, and I told every single coach once they offered me, I'm like, hey, I'm committing And look, it was a day before school started my junior year. And so I'm like, that's my date. I'm not committing any earlier. If you don't respect that, all right,
Yeah.
then it's not for me. Because I mean, you can wait if you want me that bad, you will wait. But yeah, it's one of those that you gotta do what's best for you, and you can't just fall for the peer pressure.
Yeah. So after that first offer, you mentioned Purdue. What were some of the other schools that came rolling in after that? And overall, what were the different schools that offered you before your junior year?
Before junior year, I had Michigan State, Xavier, Miami of Ohio, Louisville, Mississippi State, Liberty, Kentucky. Oh gosh.
You don't have to. You have to mention all of them.
I'm trying to. It's so long now. I used to have them like memorized.
Yeah.
Like by the time I committed, I'd had UNC, Virginia Tech. I had told Arizona State they were late in the mix. I knew where I was going, which we knew him. We knew Tracy, so he understood that. Gosh, I can't even remember most of them. Cincinnati. Yeah, that's all I can think of right now. Gosh.
Yeah. So you said before your junior year, those were the schools that offered you. So when you committed, there were schools that continued to offer you?
No. So I called every coach when right before I made it public and everything. I called every single coach, said, hey, thanks for the time, but I'm going to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
So one of those that they kind of respected that and they didn't really push it too far. But no, that no one really got in the mix after that. They kind of just understood.
Yeah. So what was it at Mississippi State that made you initially choose them?
Gary Henderson.
Okay.
He's one of the best out there. When he was at Kentucky, we bonded, I guess you could say bonded. We clicked as he was a pitching coach. He had me calling pitches in one of the scrimmages. I thought he was just having fun with me or just screwing around or something like that. And he said after, he goes, that's what I want. I wanted to see what your thoughts were. And I'm like, I didn't think of that. I thought it was he was, just playing a game or something. Yeah. And so that's what really clicked, is he was like a father figure. Like I could call him at any time. After every game I'd call him and he would just talk, and he's just one of the best dudes out there.
Yeah.
Both as a coach and as just a person in general. They will be there for you.
Yeah.
But no, he's the reason I went there.
Okay. So you ended up spending one season there at Mississippi State. So kind of what was that season like for you?
It was kind of a eye-opener. Kind of one of those that you learned a lot so that later on you knew how to handle things. So obviously I went in there, I was catching beginning of season, I was catching like the Sunday games, like DHing Saturdays. I think I played like 27, started 14, I think it was, something like that. So as a freshman in the SEC, that's a decent amount. Yeah. And do I wish I would have played more? Yeah, but it's the SEC and it was a freshman year. So it wasn't, that was out. It was a good time. It was enjoyable and everything. And being able to see the college life for the first time, you had the college or the high school, being at a big high school and everything like that, but college is a lot different experience wise, like the football games, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was cool and everything. Going to the College World Series, that was neat. Not everyone gets to experience that. So yeah, it was kind of a eye opener. Kind of just opens everything up, really, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you were a freshman that played quite a bit in the SEC level. What was it that kind of made you transfer to Illinois State after one season at Mississippi State?
That's biggest thing was the coaching staff really just didn't click. Lamonis was at IU, and they didn't really recruit me there, but I wasn't a big IU fan or anything like that, and I didn't really want to go there. And we just, I guess the bond or the relationship wasn't there, and we couldn't get it. And there was a lot of changing going on that I couldn't have, that wasn't being explained, whether it was mostly like in your swing or something like that. And it wouldn't get explained basically of why we're changing this or what's the plan. And that's the biggest thing. Like in pro ball now, it's like there's a plan. I mean, I changed my swing when in instructs, and there was a plan. Like, this is why we're doing it. This is what you'll see. Like, so there was a map of everything. There was video. We had that. It's just it wasn't being used, and it wasn't there to help, or it wasn't being explained basically. And that's the biggest thing I need is I'm a visual learner. I got to see before I just change something on the spot. And that's when I kind of drew my last straw. Is just the relationship wasn't there. I tried getting it there. And things were I was just being told to change. And I got the feeling that if I didn't change, then or do what they wanted, then, I mean, obviously you're not going to go where you want to, but it's one of those, you're in control of your career. So you've got to have that say in your game.
Yeah. So can you kind of take us through the process of when you decided, hey, I wanted to transfer, until when you committed to Illinois State?
Yeah. So it was day I went in there. It was like a 3-hour thing where I was in there in the office, told them I wasn't leaving, or I was leaving. And tried to get me to stay and everything, but it was just one of those, it was best for me to leave. And it was about 5 hours later, my name was in the portal, and IU and Illinois State had called and set up visits and everything. So 5 hours later, I've already got 2 schools. And all the JUCOs came out of the woodwork and everything, and I'm not a JUCO guy. I'm not huge on that. I mean, I know guys love the JUCO route and everything. I just don't think it's the best route. That's my side of things. So I knew I wasn't going to go that route. I told my agent, I'm like, I'm not going JUCO. And I'll just sit out the year and kind of just forget everything that was said and just become the player I was, which that was all agreed. And everyone I asked, the scouts I knew, they agreed with that. The scouts were the ones who told me that you need to get out of there. And so it worked out for me, and it's the right decision I need to do for my career.
Yeah. So you had 2 offers, right? You said Indiana, Illinois State.
Yeah, those were the 2. I found those were the 2 I felt comfortable. I knew where I was going to go.
Yeah. So
just because.
Did you take a visit to Bloomington?
Yeah, so I flew in, and the next day I visited IU, and then it was Thanksgiving, and then I visited Illinois State.
Okay. So what made it? What about Illinois State made it? That's where you wanted to be.
The relationship I had with Wally Crancer when he was at Purdue was built and everything, and felt really comfortable with him. And that's kind of where everything started, and then led in. I trusted him with everything. And then Steve was there, and I knew they were real close and everything. He played professional and in the bigs with Giants and everything like that as a catcher. So that all that helped out, and I'm like, that's where I need to be. That's the right things, right steps. They were relaxed. And so it all just felt right.
Yeah.
Now, I had a lot of buddies at IU, and they all give me crap that you should have came here and stuff like that. And so that was the one hard pull that was for at IU, I should say. That I really want to go there for that.
Yeah. Who were some
But
of
yeah,
your IU team?
oh gosh, you got trying to think. Tommy Summer. You had I'm trying to think of it at the time. Cole Barr, I knew a little bit. I didn't like know him personally or anything. Grant Richardson. Tucker. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I don't know why I'm drawing blanks right now.
It's all good.
But no, I mean I knew a decent like guys and everything from playing with them in the fall. So that was a pull there that Illinois State didn't have. So
yeah. So you ended up playing. You went to Illinois State in 2020, right?
yes.
Okay, so really that COVID season, you can't really count that. But how was last season in 2021 at Illinois State? How was that for you?
It was good. It was again an eye-opening thing. It was kind of frustrating. Yeah, it was kind of just frustrating, kind of eye-opening. Beginning of the season was enjoyable. I would text my parents like, "Hey, this is where we're seeing it. Like, this is why I did this." Yeah. I caught the first 90 innings straight. Was on our team where you start seeing me get taken out and stuff like that, and that's kind of where everything just started. The ball started, or snowball effect started to just disintegrate and just go everywhere. So that was kind of tough and frustrating to see and go through and stuff like that. But I mean, it worked out and everything.
Yeah. So let's transition a little bit to the MLB Draft League. Obviously, the MLB Draft League was the first season last year. So can you take us through the process of how you ended up playing in that league and how that's helped you ended up signing with the Cincinnati Reds?
Yeah, so I was supposed to be going to Cape Cod, and it switched the last I forget how many, probably 2-3 weeks before our season ended. And I was gonna get more games in before the draft. So yeah, that's fine with me. I'm like, whatever, it's closer to home too. And so I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So I get there, and actually Garrett Shanley, a buddy of mine, he was already on the team. So I called him, I'm like, you know anything about this draft league? Yeah, I'm playing in it. I'm like, okay, all right, it'll be fine. And no, it was a great experience. I mean, having a manager of Coco Chris, you can't really pass that up. But Ron Mayhay, our pitching coach, it was definitely an experience that you definitely got the pro ball experience and treated like a professional, especially on the fan side, going to different venues, stuff like that. You were a professional. That wasn't a professional yet.
Yeah. So could you kind of take us through what the daily routine was for like a home game, and then let's say you hop on the bus for a road game? Can you kind of take us through those routines?
Home game was a little home game was a little different. It was so Garrett Shanley and I actually roomed together, and that just the two of us are like brothers. Like, we will fight like brothers, and we will just pick on each other. But at the same time, he's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And so we roomed together, and so I'm like a night owl, and it pissed him off. I would stay up to about 1 a.m, and I'd be able to wake up at 11, 12.
Yeah.
And where he was the one he would fall asleep at midnight, maybe a little bit later, but wake up super early. And so most home games we would usually wake up about 1 and get to the field at 3:30 for a 7 o'clock game, and everything would just be pushed earlier for an earlier game, kind of. Yeah, that was kind of it. We'd get up, shower, and literally we would go to Subway pretty much every single day. which he did not like. But that was the routine we got into, and it worked for us. But no, then you get to the field, you kind of just sit around for a little bit, which I like getting places early, and especially baseball field, I'm kind of known. I'd get there 2 hours, like an hour and a half earlier than other guys would. Just because I'd rather be there and be relaxed instead of being rushed and feel like I'm got to get into something. And so we get there, we'd just sit around, and he's a pitcher, so he had nothing for like 3-4 hours. So that made him so mad. But no, so you kind of just get there, get stuff on, get your work in, whether it's in the cages, stuff like that. And again, it's the same thing in pro ball. It's except for you have to have, like, your coaches are always there with you in pro ball because obviously they invested in you. But now you get your work in, and then goes into on-field like BP type stuff like that. You get fed, hang out the guys, do BP, come back in, hang out the guys more, and then it's game time. So it's kind of, you're taking care of business, training room after BP type stuff if you need it. So it's kind of just taking care of business, taking care of your body, what you need, but being relaxed while you do it.
Yeah. So if you were given this opportunity again, you definitely would you join the MLB Draft League if you had the opportunity again? Like if you'd go back in the past?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great league, especially for the first year and everything. It was definitely very well ran. I mean, I would probably want to go Cape to get the experience and everything, but it was one that the talent in it was great. And you're treated like a professional, which, I mean, that's what you want before draft and everything. I know they made some changes to the league and everything, so I don't know what that's going to look like or how that is, but how it was ran when I was there, it was very well done.
So you mentioned Coco Chris was your manager. I had a few questions lined up for that as well. So what were some of those key things you learned from Coco, and what was it just like overall having one of those former pretty well-known players as a manager?
And there was a lot. And I mean, this will go into what you see on Twitter, and I call it Twitter coaching and stuff like that, which just drives me nuts. But like on the tech side of stuff, I remember I was in the dugout one day, or I was going up to hit, and he pulls me over and he goes, what do you look at on this, like the sheet that had all like what pitches, what percent, when does he throw this pitch, whatnot? And he goes, what do you look on this? I said, how many fastballs he throws, and does he throw it early in the count, late in the count? But I just want to know the fastball, and what other off-speed pitches does he have? I go, that's all I want to know. And he goes, okay, why? I'm like, because if you get up there, and that's what all these other kids in Twitter thinks, like, oh, they have all these stats and everything on every single pitch and it's everything. Like, our brains aren't good enough. Like, you get up there, and if you're thinking, all right, it's 75% chance he's throwing a curveball here, like, you're not hitting the ball. I'm sorry. And so I said, I'm ready for the fastball. That's the one I want to hit. Like, I know I can drive that one. And so I'm going to attack that one early in the count. All right. And I go, well, what did you do? And he goes, same thing. And so he goes, if you know too much going into that bat, you're just going to be out of it. I'm like, okay, at least I know I'm on the right track and everything. I feel better now. But the way he went about it was very relaxing. You got to know him very well. He bought the clubhouse a ping pong table, and he actually was a professional ping pong, or in college he was a I forget what it is, but he played ping pong at college, at Southern University. And so he had his own paddles that he had his wife ship him or something like that. And he would play us. We had a tournament, and he destroyed everybody. It was unreal. But no, it was one of those that you built a relationship, and that's what you need. That's what going into college is what you need. Now are your college coaches going to be playing ping pong with you? No. But I mean, he built a relationship with everybody, and got to know them. I knew him better than some other coaches I've had, and vice versa. But no, he kept it cool. But also taught you a lot. The first week I was there, I was standing next to him, and he was talking it up, and I was talking game with him and stuff like that. And it was just he was very open to everything, and just wanted to help us out.
Yeah. So was that draft league, was it over by the time the draft started, or did those kind of overlap a little bit?
They overlapped. So like draft we had a week break.
Okay.
So that during draft, and then the guys went back and played another, I think it was another month, maybe a couple weeks or whatever. Yeah.
So heading into the last year's draft, 2021, what were your thoughts? Had you had some previous conversation with teams? Did you think you were going to get picked? Can you take us through that?
Yeah. So I knew, going into college season, I was projected a lot. I was 26th overall, something like that. So I'm going into season, I'm all right, I'm looking at first, second round. I knew I wasn't going to get that after the season and stuff like that. But I talked to my agent, and he said, I think it was 2 weeks before, he goes, we got 10 teams, day 2 or 3. I said, all right, yeah, I'm fine, let's go. And so I had the talks and everything. I had teams calling literally the day before draft. I remember the Phillies called, the Orioles called. So I felt comfortable. I was all right, we're going. And so obviously draft came, and day 2, I thought it would be late, if that. And my agent texted me, and he goes, day 3, I've got 10 teams that they have you, they're taking you tomorrow. I'm all right, yeah, I just take me, whatever. And then 15th round came, and I texted him, hey, what's going on? And he's they literally just went in the opposite directions of what they told me. I'm all right, whatever. And 18th round came, oh my gosh. And then 20th, Miami offered me, and it just wasn't enough for a draft pick to go. So I'm I told him, so he told them what we would take, and it just didn't work out like that, which was fine. And then literally 5 minutes after the draft, he called me up and said, hey, Reds want you. Will you take free agent? I said, yeah, absolutely. Or I didn't say absolutely right then, but so it took me about 2 days, and it was one of those that's what fit best. And I just needed to go play professional ball. I was tired of the college ball, and how everything kind of I went through and stuff that's just not the type of player I am, I guess. And if I could go back, I'd probably, I learned a lot going through the college stuff, and it helped me mentally and everything. But I would much rather just sign out of high school. And I want to go to college to experience it and play, and win. But I would have signed out of high school and lowered my offer value.
So you had draft conversations with teams out of high school, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were those like? Was there a difference at all from coming out of high school to last year?
Yeah, a little bit. They knew it was going to take a lot to pull me from Mississippi State. And so I was looking where I could have gone early in the draft, but teams knew that it was going to take a lot to pull me away, which is a security thing for high schooler especially. And so it was one of those, I had a team call, and hey, if you'd have taken lower, we would have had you in the first day or two. I'm well, crap, but it didn't hit the number that we had set. And I trusted that and everything, and it was for the right reason. I completely agreed with it, still do. And so yeah, it was. I had every single team, but maybe 2, I think it was, that came for an in-home visit, which I think every kid has that's going through the draft process. So the ball was rolling, it was going in the right direction. It just, everything was lined up with Coach Henderson down at Mississippi State. He was still the coach and everything. So I was like, that's where I'm going. Like, you're gonna have to pull me from there. And they weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So what were some, you said you had in-home visits with 28 teams. What were some of those in-home visits like?
a lot of them were just getting to know, like, me getting to know their organization and them getting to know me, kind of finding more about getting to know the family, more so knowing what they're getting, um, or would get, and kind of answering any questions we had. Uh, I mean, there were some tests you had to take. I remember doing that on the kitchen table. Um, no,
Were
yeah, it
you,
was kind of get to know you, like first day type stuff with your teacher. Get to know, but build that relationship. Start it early. Do stuff face to face, not through text, not over the phone, stuff like that.
yeah. So going back to last year's draft, you said the Reds offered you like 5 minutes after the draft, but you took 2 days to wait just to see what happened. Were there other teams that offered you during those 2 days?
No, so the main reason was just to make sure that's what I want to do. I mean, that's a huge, I mean, getting taken in the draft is different than being taken free agent wise. And so I just want to make sure that was the right decision to go and see if there was anything that was pulling me to go back to college or back to school. And there was nothing pulling me to go back to school, nothing. And so that's when I knew. I was like, yeah, this is definitely the decision I want. So yeah, I'm one of those that, like, I committed. I told him when I was going to. And my agent told me, he goes, hey, they just give him a decision by like 2 days. I said, all right. So I used both of those days and kind of contacted a Red scout, that Ben Jones. He's now on the big league side. I was contacting him, picking his brain, some other guys who are in kind of like the agency world now that I knew when they were scouts.
Yeah.
Just in other scouts now with, I mean, Mike Farrell at the Royals. I called them just, hey, is this the right decision? And I mean, they kind of just talked me through it and just, hey, they helped make my decision all in all. So, yeah.
Yeah. So when you did decide to sign, when you decided signing with the Reds is what I want to do, how long was it until you were in Arizona signing the contract?
It was, I think I might be completely wrong, but I'm thinking that the draft was either Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or something like that. But they flew me out Thursday of the week. And I remember I only had, from the time draft was, I think it was 3, maybe 4 days. So I don't know where that puts draft. So it was a very quick process of everything, which, I mean, honestly, it was nice because you got back out there and everything on the field. Well, not on the field yet. We had like a 2-week span where we were doing kind of like basically nothing, just building us back into it, I guess, with physicals, stuff like that, and taking us slow. Obviously, a lot of us came off of a long college season, stuff like that. So that kind of was one of those, like, I just want to go play. Like, come on. But I mean, we went about it the right way, which is nice. So.
Yeah. So it took you so after signing the contract, it was like a 2-week, you said 2-week span before you started playing ball?
Yeah, so I wasn't activated until probably the 3rd week, and I was like the second or third guy activated. And so it was a while for guys to start getting rolling. Pitchers took a little bit longer. But no, it took a while. It was like aggravating, but at the same time, you're like, I know what they're doing, stuff like that. So
yeah. So what were some of your key takeaways from last season, your first pro season?
Biggest thing was just like controlling what you can control. I mean, going in there, they had it set up so like our guys, like the draft class guys, mainly, except for like the first rounders, we were going like every Friday playing, at least catcher wise. kind of they already had some catchers there, and again we had just caught during the season and stuff like that. So that was kind of frustrating. You get in there and it's you see a 94 coming by you for the first time in a week, and you're like, oh gosh, like, all right, there it is. But so you kind of it made sure you could handle failure and enjoy success when it was there. So that was kind of the nice thing. That, I mean, I went through it in college and everything, but it was like, all right, it's going to happen in pro ball. So that helped out big time. So when I went back out for instructs, like I talked about, Cammy, one of our hitting coaches, and Jordan Stauffer, they're some of the best. I know Cammy just got a big league job with the Phillies, so I was disappointed with that one. And but they helped me with getting my swing to where it needed to be. And Eric Davis also helped in that, so that was kind of cool to pick a brain of someone that's pretty decent. Yeah. And so it was one of those that things worked out and took it, and they helped me. That's like MSU say, it didn't work out. Just everything just wanted to be changed and not explained or have a plan, but they had a plan right now. This is why we're doing it, and stuff like that. And it bettered me in the long run. I haven't felt this good since, I can tell you, like probably high school in the hitting side. It's just consistency, finding that, and then doing stuff on your own. The catching side, there was stuff that was changed as well with Corky, and so it was kind of stuff that needed to be changed, and that helped me in the long run. But again, it was professionally done. It was planned out, talked about. This is why we're doing it. Back and forth conversations, type stuff like that, and they made it comfortable. Again, you're in your control of your career, but again, they own you. So, but no, that helped. But other than that, I took out is you get your own work in on your own time. So whether it's a lift, stuff like that, eating right, speed work, training room type stuff, just getting your stuff done, and you don't need to promote it or anything like that. You see guys out there. Saw a tweet the other night. Joe Burrow put out, like, get in the weight room. You don't need to put it on social media when you do. And I thought that was just absolutely awesome. Yeah. Because you see so many guys getting in the weight room and they got to post a picture that they're in. And it's like, just go get your work done.
Yeah. If you do enough, the process is going to show on the field. So
exactly, yeah. And so I see high schoolers in there, they're taking pictures of themselves. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I don't say anything. It's just, yeah, you do you. But no, it's one of those that's, as a professional, that's how you do things. And it goes a long way. So you figure out how to go about your business each day. And like, my days consist of baseball. That's, if I'm not with my fiance, it's baseball stuff. And so it's one of those that you learn quick, and it's a lot more enjoyable, I say, with not having to deal with school stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure. How long were you in Arizona before, like, the off season kind of started? How was your first pro off season?
So it went like the season, end of minor league season, and then it was a week break where I came home, and then they flew me back out for instructs, and that was for another month. And then beginning of, oh gosh, what month was it? I forget what month it was that they sent us back home. And I was back here literally that month ended, and I was home the next day. Yeah. Then after that, it was the way I got home, took a day off, and I was back in the cage doing work.
Where do you work
out? The Ash Center. My dad rents up there. So we just go up there and hit, and then kind of just do our own stuff. And then he has Purdue Fort Wayne. So I go and I help their catchers out, help their hitters. I don't try to get in. I'm just there kind of just watching and getting stuff in, like standing in on their bullpens and stuff like that, seeing some spin and everything. But I've got relationships with those guys now, and they like to pick my brain a little bit, and I'll just throw them stuff that I know I've learned or I've learned along the way, basically, that help them out. And so that's the one nice thing is I can now give back to those guys that want to get to where I'm at type stuff.
Yeah. So when do you head back to Arizona for the season for spring training?
March 1, we finally were told. So that was nice to know. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. So so the lockouts kind of affected you in that way, is not knowing when you're going to be there for training, or?
So I'm not sure if usually they hold it back that. I mean, we found out February 1st, they sent us an email, but I mean, I don't know if that's because of the lockout. I really don't know.
You don't really know the difference because this is your first.
Yeah, first year, and it's just a mess with the lockout. I mean, the lockout shouldn't affect us too much. The only thing that's weird is like the stuff that they're trying to get is for minor leaguers. Yeah. So I don't know how it wouldn't affect us. But hey, if we get to go out there and play, I don't care. So
of course not. Because I just felt like growing up, whenever I would see like pitchers and catchers would report like mid-February. So I wasn't sure if March 1st, if that was thrown back or not. So, I mean, I don't know. I was just curious.
Yeah, I know March 1st is pitchers, catchers, and then it's like the 9th, I think it is, that position players come in.
Okay. So what are some of your goals for this upcoming season, just personally?
Personally is one, controlling what I can control and kind of just getting out there and be the main guy wherever I am. I've shown in the past in instructs the player I can be, and I mean that's a top level player. So I mean the way I played in instructs was the way I played the summer before playing at Illinois State. It was one of those where I went off and I played great. So it's one of those, as a free agent, you have to show what you can do and quick, basically, because you don't have as much security behind you. And so it's one of those, I just want to go out there, have fun, and learn from mistakes I make. Because I mean, you're going to make them, and I mean, you still do. But it's more of a quick turnover now that, I mean, all right, I made a mistake. All right. It's not like you learn right there and then. So it's one of those I want to take over. I want to run with it and be one of the main guys. And that's the whole goal. That, I mean, when I signed, that was a goal. But that'll always be it.
Yeah. So obviously you're not there till March 1st, but do you kind of have an idea of where you'll be? Like, do you think you'll start the year out in Daytona, Dayton, or do you think you'll be in extended spring training? What's your kind of?
So they told me I think it was before instructs, that it was either Dayton or Daytona. Okay. I mean, and again, who knows? I mean, they could tell me I'm going to Timbuktu, and I would be like, okay, like there's no team there, but so it's one of those. I mean, you have to perform at spring training and stuff like that, and then they tell you where. So it's kind of nice knowing it's one of those two spots at least. But yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of want to transition a little bit. I kind of want to dig into your agent selection process. I don't know if you've looked into me at all, but I'm trying to become an MLB certified agent once I graduate. So I kind of like getting to know from all the players, like just the player side of things, what made you choose your agent, stuff like that. So when was it that agents and advisors kind of started reaching out to you?
It would have been my sophomore year. Yeah, I think sophomore year. They started reaching out, and I didn't make a decision until my freshman year of college.
Okay. So did you go through the draft after your high school senior season? You went through that without an advisor?
Yes and no. I kind of was like working with two guys at the time, basically, as advisors. I mean, the draft process, everything through teams was going through my family and I, but they were advising me through it.
Okay.
So that kind of helped. And I learned on both sides which one was the right pick and everything. So
Yeah. So when you were going through that process of picking an advisor / agent, like what were some of those key things you were looking for, and what put your agent that you have now, what put him on top?
biggest thing is same thing with the college coaches is the relationship. I mean, you're basically hiring them. Where college coaches, you're finding the guy who you want to play for. So you got to find that right fit. Same thing with agents, like who's going to stick their neck out for me, who's going to be there for me, type stuff like that. So that's where, I mean, I had two great guys, and it's just the one organization didn't work for me as well as
Yeah.
he did it. That's, I mean, it's completely fine, and it worked out and everything. So
what agent did you actually choose?
John Fermaniac with Apex.
Okay. I've heard his name quite a few. I've heard his name quite a bit. But for like any of the collegiate players listening, going through the same process of just picking an agent, like what advice would you give them?
There's absolutely like no rush and everything. And again, like I said, I waited until freshman year of college. I mean, unless you're being told right now you're going to be a first rounder, I don't see there's a need for one out of high school right away. Just because, I mean, that's my side, but I also had a dad who played professionally.
Yeah.
And so he knew he could take me through it. We set the number high because we won security, and I was going to play for Gary Henderson, and that they had to take me away from there. So we kind of had it in control and everything. So it's kind of just like the college thing, being in control of your own thing. It's the same thing with the professional side. Yeah, do they have a little bit bigger voice and things? Yeah, but you're still the one who they've got to get to say yes. So it's kind of, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Of course.
It's one of those that don't fall for the pressure or anything like that, and find the right guy. It's one of those that they're gonna have a lot come out of the woodwork. And if my biggest thing is if they reach out to you and send you a message on social media, they're not the guy.
Yeah.
If they send you an email or reach out in text to set something up, set a phone call up, set a meeting up, that's a good guy. I hate the social media stuff. But kids are now going to that. I tell kids all the time, like, just get off social media. Like, honestly, like I see all the Twitter coaching, everything. It's kind of getting off the topic, but I see all the Twitter coaching is, you see that. And I mean, some of our coaches in the organization, they make fun of the Twitter guys that are trying to teach hitting and stuff like that. It's just like, they have no idea what they're talking about, but all these kids and dads are falling for it and stuff like that, which, I mean, so be it. I mean, if you want to, fine, but it's Twitter coaching.
Yeah. So you mentioned like the social media DM, like an agent reaching out that way. Was there anything else that agents did that kind of was like did not impress you whatsoever?
No, really, that was the only thing. That was a red flag to me. I wouldn't respond to DMs for agents. That was, I guess, it's a respect thing that I'm not gonna go and find. I mean, if a coach DM me, they can find your number.
Yeah.
Your number's all out there. Your information's all out there, for them to be able to get to. So they should be able to text you, call you, instead of direct message on Instagram. It's a more professional way, and that's where getting an agent is a professional thing. It's not a friend that you get. That's kind of how I looked at it, how my family looked at it. It just wasn't impressive.
Yeah. All right. So to end off the podcast, let's kind of move away from baseball a little bit. Let's talk about what are some of your passions just beyond the baseball field?
Oh, man. Gosh. Kind of biggest thing, I mean, it's kind of sort of just, again, around the baseball field and everything, but I just like I mean, I've been doing lessons and everything. I kind of like working with the younger guys, going through the same thing that I went through in the process at a different level, but I like helping them out, talking to different guys. But kind of more so just being around family and everything. When I'm not at the field, I like just being around the family, being with my fiance, kind of just doing that stuff takes your mind away from it, and you need a break from baseball at times.
Yeah.
So it helps out big time. But yeah, it's kind of hanging out with friends, family, kind of just having the same old fun that you had in high school when you weren't at, whether it was basketball, football games, stuff like that, just hanging out, kind of being chill, I guess.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite things to do in Fort Wayne when you're back home?
Oh gosh. I would say I don't do too much. I really just, because I've been just doing lessons kind of. Commerce game's a big one. Those are enjoyable. I mean, you go for the game, but you definitely stay for the fights.
Yeah.
But no, one of our good friends is like a part owner for them, so it's nice to get in there and see some games and everything like that. Yeah, other than that, I don't really do too much just because I'm doing lessons and stuff like that and doing my own work. Gosh, yeah, that's all I can think of.
Yeah. So you say you're doing some lessons. I saw that you posted, like, maybe it might have been a month, 2 months ago, that you were doing like a camp or like some lessons. Has that already gone by?
Yeah, so I did one camp for a team that was based out of Huntington. And then I did another camp in Michigan for a guy who he played professionally named Pat Mish. He pitched for my dad at Western Michigan. And so I went up there with my dad and we ran a catching camp for him. And then I'm doing lessons on my own time. That it's one, because my dad's renting out of the Ash Center. We can't always get a cage.
Yeah.
So it's them. Whenever I can get a cage, I just get a cage. So I've got a couple of spots that I use, and kind of when I can fit the lessons into either my schedule, then that's where I can do it. So yeah, it's nice to have and nice to do. And I mean, the money's nice, but it's better. I'm not doing it more so for the money. I'm doing it just because I enjoy. If I'm not doing my own stuff, I'd rather be working with guys and helping them get to where
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah.
And so that makes it nice. And like I tell parents, it's like I tell them they ask what my rate is. And hey, this is how much I charge. And I mean, if you want to split it with someone, I don't care. Like, I'm not trying to take your money. There's organizations out there that they want the money. It's like, I don't care about the money. Like, it's more so I just want to get these kids in and get them going and stuff like that. Then, I mean, pull your whole checkbook out. And that's not what baseball's about. That's what some organizations need to figure out. But yeah.
So I'm kind of connected with the Old Fort baseball brand. So I see that you're a brand ambassador for them. So how exactly did that come about, and what is that?
No, so it was after draft. It was a couple weeks. I was in Arizona, and they followed me and everything. I'm like, Old Fort. So I clicked on it, and I'm like, okay, this stuff's kind of cool. Like, I mean, they got the old Wizard Stadium, stuff like that. And I saw that again. Garrett Shanley followed him, and I text him, I'm like, do you know who this is? He's no, but the stuff's neat. I said, yeah, like, let's message him, let's partner up or something. So we did, and got the ball rolling in that aspect. And so yeah, no, it's getting back to the history of Fort Wayne with baseball, kind of just showing the past for, not too many kids nowadays know about the Wizard Stadium. So it's kind of just giving back and kind of just showing the history of what all's been here and where the baseball in Fort Wayne started, and where it can go to and stuff like that. So it's nice to see and nice to just be able to get the stuff out there, promote it, and kind of just for others to enjoy, I guess you could say.
I've got him coming on the podcast, I think in May, just talking
Okay.
about how he started it, like what the reasoning was. But like you said, like they've got a lot of cool stuff. I like I think it's a black T-shirt with home plate with the 260 in the middle. I really like that, just because
that's one of the logos that I love that logo.
Because I'm from a small town that's north of Fort Wayne, so my area code's still 260. So obviously I love that shirt. But
no, they out the the old fort. I got the navy old fort one with the baseball in the center, and that's the other one I like.
Yeah. Have you done any other like marketing or type of endorsement deals, partnerships with anybody else?
Old fort. Trying to think of endorsement wise. There's Thumb Pro that I did a little bit. That wasn't more of an endorsement. It's more of kind of just you kind of working with them and you get some money if you get sales and stuff like that. So I kind of got away from that a little bit.
What exactly is Thumb Pro?
It's like a thumb guard. So when you're hitting, it's kind of protects you from jamming your thumb, which everyone uses a pro hitter. It's just it wraps around your thumb more. And it's really nice. It's just one of those that's I got caught up with everything, so I just didn't promote it and stuff like that. And I'm not working like close with them like I am Old Fort. Like mess with
Old Fort's just a cool brand. So obviously you got to work.
So they're more of I guess they just said, hey, here's this code, like, and you make whatever percent back, which with Old Fort, like I'll message him and stuff like that, and kind of go from there. And I know he wants to do some pictures of Garrett and I, so it's one of those that's kind of it's 260, so you can't really. I want to make sure we keep that one.
So I got one last question for you before we end it off. So what is your favorite restaurant in Fort Wayne, and then your favorite adult beverage to go along with that?
Oh man, well, one of those I can't answer because I actually don't drink.
Okay.
I haven't had drink, and that's people are gonna say he's lying, but you can ask any. I don't. Favorite restaurant? Non-healthy, I guess you could say, would be either Big Eyed Fish or Pizza King.
Okay, Pizza King's good. I haven't heard of the other one, but
you got to go to the Pizza King on, I think it's Wells Street.
Okay.
I think there's the good one. But kind of I guess you could say healthier. Man, that's tough. Gosh, that's tough. No, I'd say those are my two favorite, I'd say.
All right. I guess I'll have to check out I haven't been to that Pizza King, so I guess I'll have to check that one out, and then I'll have to check the other restaurant out.
Oh, you got to get the 3-piece curly fry. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I mean, you can only get it like once a week because, I mean, I usually do it with my dad, and it's like I'll work out for the whole week and everything. It's like, all right, I'm going to get today's the day I can have my free day. And I'm like, you're getting fish. And so we tell everyone hey, you got to go to Big Eyed Fish. Like, it's amazing. So no, it's kind of like a family. If we're out there and if all of us are out there, it's where should we go eat? It's Big Eyed Fish or it's Pizza King. But no, now sounds like all we eat is crab. Those are the best ones.
Yeah. All right. Well, Hayden, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I can't wait to post this one. Obviously, I'm going to be following your career even more now. Hopefully you get the date in, that way I can watch you in Fort Wayne this year.
Oh, yeah.
So I just really appreciate you coming on this show. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.